Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. My name is Molly, also known as Mojo, and today I am hiking to the summit of Kings Mountain. For some reason, I've never hiked this trail before. I know a lot of people who have done it and they say it's pretty hard. I think it's about 2.5 miles one way with like 2,500 to 3,000 feet of ascent, something like that. So should be a nice climb, but I'm pretty excited to get to the top. I don't think there's gonna be any views, but I'm mostly here for a hard hike and not a pretty view today, so I don't mind. So I'm also hoping to finally get around to answering some of the questions that you've had for me since I finished my Appalachian Trail Thru hike. So I have some of those prepared, and we'll hopefully be answering some of those along the way. I made it to the intersection of the Wilson River Trail, which is one of the shakedown hikes that I did last year before starting the Appalachian Trail. Kind of fun to be back, but instead of going that way this time, we're gonna go straight up. The first question that I'm gonna answer, someone asked, how did I fly with my pack? So I carried on my pack onto the airplane both times, flying to Georgia and then flying home from Maine. On the way to Georgia, I checked a box. So I just went to like Home Depot and I got just like a moving box, and I put in things that you can't bring on the airplane. So my trekking poles, my tent stakes, my little Swiss Army knife, my neck knife, things like that I put in this box. I also put the majority of the food that I was bringing. So I'd already resupplied for like the first 3 or 4 days. So I put all of that food in the box so that it wasn't in my backpack. And then yeah, I just took my backpack on the plane with me, and it fit just fine under the seat. On the way home from Maine, I didn't really want to check anything. When I was in Millinocket, I went to the post office and I shipped home my trekking poles, tent stakes, knives, things like that. The things that I can't take on the airplane with me, I sent those home through the mail, and then I just took my backpack on the airplane with me as a carry-on. So yeah, that's how I did it. I've seen other hikers get like a junky suitcase and put all their stuff in that and then throw it away when they get to Georgia. I just thought that a box would be easier to dispose of. You can break it down and just throw it in the garbage. So that's what I did. The next question is, did I think that the trail was overcrowded? This person is asking because they said they're also pretty introverted and wanted to know if they would get enough alone time. I would say that at the beginning of the Appalachian Trail, if you start in kind of that bubble, the March, April time frame, I think that the trail is crowded, but mostly just like at campsites and shelters and things like that. But like during the day while you're hiking, you see people, but you can hike alone if you want. Like, you don't have to hike with people if you don't want to. And then again, you don't have to camp at the designated shelter areas. You can always stealth camp if you prefer, or you can still camp at the designated areas, but just set up your tent and like stay inside your tent if you don't feel like socializing. Before I started the Appalachian Trail, I kind of thought it was going to be a lot more of a solo experience, and then I got out there and just started to get to know people and tried to put myself out there more and make connections and embrace the community that is the Appalachian Trail, and I was really happy that I did. I've made some lifelong friends, and the community surrounding the Appalachian Trail is so special and just so amazing that I just encourage people to try to put themselves out there and make friends and embrace it. Even if you are introverted like I am, it can be hard sometimes, but it is just such a special thing that I wouldn't want anyone to miss out on that. If you do want more solitude, it's something that you can definitely do. It's possible. You just have to camp at different places and things like that. But so the next question is, how did it go with contact lenses? So I'm going to tell you what I did, but I don't necessarily recommend this. I think my eye doctor would probably be pretty mad at me if he ever saw this video. So when I was sleeping outside, either in my tent or in a shelter, I would just sleep with my contacts in. I didn't want to go through the hassle of taking them out and putting them back in the morning, which is why I don't really recommend doing this, but that is what I did. I know some other people who wore contacts, and they would wash their hands and then take their contacts out, and then same thing in the morning, wash their hands and then put them back in. That's probably the smart thing to do. Just carry a little bit of Dr. Bronner's. So like I said, I would sleep in my contacts while I was in the backcountry, and then when I got into town, I would take them out and then wear my glasses for however long I was in town. So I'd give my eyes a little bit of a break for a night or 2 nights, depending on if I took a zero or not, and then put them back in and wear them again for 3 or 4 days. Again, I don't recommend doing this. It's really probably not good for your eyes, but that's what I did, and it worked fine. But yeah, the smarter thing would be to take your contacts in and out every night and just wash your hands before. I always had an extra pair of contacts in my backpack with me, just in case something happened to one of them, if it ripped, or I had an extra pair just in case. And then in my resupply boxes, I would get a fresh pair about once a month, so I could change them out. I also had just like a little bottle of contact solution, about 2 ounces or so. Carried that in my pack as well, so I could use that when needed. So the next question is, did I ever consider carrying a bear vault or a bear can instead of the bear bag that I carried with me? So as of right now, 2024, there are only about 8 miles, I believe, of the Appalachian Trail where a bear can is required, and that's in Georgia. So because it's not required besides those 8 miles, I opted not to carry a bear can. I figured that I could just hike through that section and just not camp there, because that's the only reason you would need it, is if you're camping in those 8 miles. So that's what I did. A lot of my hiking friends carried bear cans the whole time. Bebo carried one all the way from Georgia to Maine. So Pita and Avalanche carried bear cans the whole time. For me, I didn't want to carry one because I didn't want to carry the extra weight. I think the size that I would have needed probably weighs about 2 pounds, and I didn't want the extra weight, and since it's not required, I chose not to do it. I did, however, almost every single night on the Appalachian Trail either hang my food or put it in a bear box that was at a shelter or something like that. Yeah, this is important, especially in Georgia, because there are a lot of bears around, and the more that people don't store their food properly, the bigger problem the bears are going to be. So please, please, please hang your food, put it in a bear box, have a bear can, something like that. I think people get pretty relaxed, especially near the end of the trail, get lazy and stop doing this. Some people never do it. In my opinion, it is really important to properly store your food in one of those ways that I mentioned. So the next question is about my Durston X-Mid Pro tent. I was asked if I ever had any issues with it having a large footprint, and then also how I dealt with packing it up after like it had been raining and it was wet. I only got my Durston at the end of New Hampshire, so I really only had it for Maine. And in that time, I didn't really have any problem with it having a large footprint. I was always able to find a spot to set it up. And then as far as like the rest of the trail, I didn't have a Durston at the time, but my hiking partner Ziggy did. He had one on his whole through hike, and again, he also never had any trouble finding a spot to set it up. There's always space. You'll always find a spot. If you're stealth camping, you might have to be a little pickier, and you might have to look a little harder for one that's big enough, but you'll always find something. So I really wouldn't be too concerned about getting a Durston because of the size of the footprint. There were a lot of Durston tents on the AT, and everyone managed to find a spot when needed. So the other part of that question was how I dealt with like packing it up when it was wet. This was a little bit trickier with the single wall tent than it is with the Sea to Summit double wall tent that I started with. It was a lot easier to keep like the inside of the tent dry when there was a separate rain fly, because I could put them into the 2 separate stuff sacks and keep them separate. But with the Durston, it's all one piece, so you can't do that. But I would just try to like fold it up in a way that like kept the outside from touching the inside as much as possible. So I would like fold it in half with the inside of the tent on the inside, and then fold it in half again, and then kind of roll it up or stuff it into the stuff sack. It's a lot of trial and error, seeing what works at the beginning, and then you just end up finding a way to kind of fold it that is better than other ways that you've tried, and you go with that. I don't have like a specific answer for that one. It's kind of trial and error. If you have to pack up your tent wet later that day, if it's not raining and you have a break and there's maybe a little bit of sunshine, you just take your tent out and you lay it in the sun and you let it dry. The Dyneema dries really fast, so it doesn't have to sit out very long before it's dry. So the next question is, how much do you think that the physical preparation that I did before the Appalachian Trail helped me? I think it helped a lot. I think that having at least some level of fitness before starting the Appalachian Trail is a good idea. Is it 100% necessary? No. Have people done it straight off the couch? Yeah. Does it probably suck a lot more? Yeah. I think just having at least, a baseline fitness level is really helpful, especially in the beginning. The Appalachian Trail is just such a huge undertaking. To have doubts that you can physically do it that early on, I think would be really hard to overcome. Yeah, I was worried on day 2, day 3 that I had messed up my ankle and that I wasn't going to be able to continue, or it was going to be a hindrance the whole time, and luckily it just ended up being my shoes. So I do think that having some fitness is really important. I also think that having prepared like mentally is also really important, maybe even more important, because the whole Appalachian Trail is physical, but just being mentally tough and being able to push through the physical pain day after day after day is something that you also have to be prepared for. I think just knowing what some of the challenges are that you're going to face ahead of time is helpful. Reading a book like Appalachian Trials by Zach Davis is something that I would recommend to thru hikers. I read it before I started my hike, and had some reasons why I was thru hiking, and having those in the back of your mind to think about on the really bad days, like, okay, this sucks, but why am I out here? Why am I doing this? Why am I putting myself through this day after day? And having an answer to that question, I think is important. Another part of the question that I was asked was, did I ever feel like quitting? Did I ever want to quit the trail? And I think there were definitely moments where I wanted to be done hiking for that day, and that probably happened a lot of days. You know, you've hiked however many miles and you're ready to be done and set up camp and eat food and go to sleep. But no, I don't think I ever wanted to quit and go home. I never wanted to be done. Like a quarter way through the trail, I was already getting sad that it was, you know, quarter of the way done. I think after a few weeks on trail, I had no doubt in my mind that I could do it and that I was gonna do it. And maybe even that first day, I realized that I could do this, barring no injuries and things like that. I was gonna make it to Katahdin. So no, I never wanted to quit. I have gone about 2.8 miles with about 21, almost 2,200 feet of ascent. It has got a little chilly up here. There's some snow on the ground, so I put some gloves and another layer on. So the next question is if there's anything about like the layout or the route of the trail that I would change. And I immediately think of Pennsylvania and how much I loathed the rocks in northern PA. But even though I really didn't like that part of the trail, I don't think I would change it. I think it's just another challenge or obstacle of the AT that prepares you for what's to come. The rocks are different in New Hampshire, but there are just a lot of rocks, and even though I really didn't like that part of the trail, I still wouldn't change it because, yeah, you feel accomplished when you push through things that you don't like or are uncomfortable or are challenging. You just feel so rewarding, like when you overcome that. So even though it wasn't my favorite part of the trail, no, I would not change it. I would leave it how it is. Woohoo! Kings Mountain Summit. I don't know if you can read it because of the sun, but 3,226 feet. Wow. Another question I was asked was, would I change anything about the way I conducted my hike? Or would I change anything about my hike? And I think the answer is no. I think everything worked out how it was supposed to work out. Yeah, and if I had changed anything, then I don't know, maybe some of my experiences would have been different, and I don't want it to have been any different. I loved almost every single moment of it, and today is the last day of 2024, and I'm on top of this beautiful mountain looking at this gorgeous view and just feeling so grateful that I was even able to attempt to hike the Appalachian Trail, let alone complete the thru hike. Yeah, I just feel incredibly blessed and grateful, and yeah, I'm so happy that I got to take y'all along with me and that you enjoyed my videos and my experiences, and I just liked following my journey. It was so fun sharing it, and I'm just feeling so grateful and happy about how 2024 turned out. It was truly a great year, and hoping that 2025 will be just as good. So another question that I got was about trekking poles and if they are actually necessary on the Appalachian Trail. I guess the answer is no, they are not absolutely necessary. You do not have to have them. My friend Bebo didn't carry trekking poles until about halfway through Virginia, and most of you know that Birdie didn't have them, and she completed the trail just fine without them. I would say that 98-99% of hikers have them. I think that they're super useful for a lot of different things. They help take some of the weight off your back if you use them properly. They help you keep your balance. Yeah, I really liked having them. I think I probably would have fallen a lot more. I probably would have possibly hurt myself if I didn't have them. So I am really glad I had them, and I would take them again on the Appalachian Trail, specifically because of just how steep it is and whatnot, and how many rocks and roots and things there are. Right. Someone asked me what my favorite part of the trail experience was, and this is really hard for me to just pick one thing. I think the whole thing was really amazing. Oh jeez, I almost tripped. And so my answer today is just like being in nature all the time. Being outside and hiking just makes my heart and my soul so happy. Being able to do that every single day was just such an amazing thing to experience, and to live in nature and be immersed for so long was really incredible for me, and it was just one of the happiest times of my life. So yeah, I think that was probably my favorite part, was just being outside and living outside, and how simple it is. And if you ask me tomorrow, my answer might be different, but today that's what it is, and it probably has a little bit to do with me being outside on a hike. But yeah, I just love it so much, and I'm so happy when I'm hiking. Being able to do that every day was very much a blessing. My least favorite part, probably the humidity. Hiking in humid weather, I've learned, is just not my jam. Yeah, I think I learned that I do not do very well in the humidity, so that was probably my least favorite part. And the rocks in Pennsylvania are close second. Someone asked me why the Appalachian Trail and not the Pacific Crest Trail. I think I got this question before I started the AT and kind of answered it there, but if you don't want to go back and find that video, I'll answer it again. One big reason that I chose the Appalachian Trail is because I had never been to the East Coast before. I wanted to experience part of the country that I had never been to before. Obviously the PCT goes through California, Oregon, and Washington. I'm from Oregon. I've spent a lot of time here, done a lot of hiking here. I lived in California for a year and a half, so spent time there, and Washington is pretty much also my backyard, so I've been to those places, and not that I don't think they're beautiful. I just personally wanted to experience and see other parts of the country. Before going to Georgia, I had never been to any of the states that the AT had gone through, and now I can say I've walked through 14 different East Coast states, all the way from Georgia to Maine. I'm really happy that I did the Appalachian Trail. I think the views are probably more grand on the PCT and the CDT, but I don't think that's necessarily what I was looking for. I just was looking for a way to be out in nature and to push myself and to see if I could accomplish this physical, mental challenge. I think another reason that I chose the Appalachian Trail is just because logistically it seems easier than the PCT. Towns are closer, you can resupply more often, you don't have to carry as much food necessarily. It kind of feels like a little bit more of a beginner backpacking trail, I would say. I think for me, that was another thing about it that kind of led me towards the Appalachian Trail, is just like peace of mind a little bit that if I got into a tough spot or I wasn't as prepared as I thought I was, that town wouldn't be too far away. Well, I'm almost back to my car, so I think the last question that I'm going to answer today is, will I ever thru hike again? And the answer is a definite 100% yes. I definitely want to thru hike again. The part I don't know is the when. So I am working on that. I'm trying to figure that out. But yes, there will be another thru hike in my future, and I plan on documenting that and sharing it with y'all. I just don't know when that'll be yet. I appreciate all of you for sticking around and watching my videos and continuing to encourage me. It's really been quite a wonderful aspect of this whole thing and of this year. I've really appreciated all of your kind words and encouragement and everything. So thank you all so much. Hope you all have had a wonderful holiday season and a happy new year. Thank you all so much for watching, and mighty fine hiking, everyone. Bye.